You are live. Hello, welcome to the fourth episode of the Kindness Files. I'm your host, Gina, founder of Kind2, and the aim of this podcast is to spread a bit of joy with some fun memories and connecting humans together through kindness. We'll be talking to some amazing humans that have shaped my life, and we'll be dropping a new episode weekly. And here is our guest today. Here's Reema. So excited. We must have met about 4 or 5 years ago now, I reckon, whenever COVID was. We used to work together. We used to work for different consultancies. We worked on the same client. And you were my first coaching client as well. That I think is amazing. And you've gone on to do some absolutely fabulous things. And I feel really privileged to still be a part of your life and to still be a part of your journey. So excited today to get into what kindness means to you and explore some kind moments in your life.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm honoured that I got to be your first coaching client, and also that it was on your first official day of being a coach as well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Lots of firsts, lots of post-it notes, whiteboards. And Sharpies. The Sharpies weren't for the whiteboards, but lots of Sharpies.
The Sharpie on the whiteboard would have upset me and you both a lot, I think. Yeah,
I think it would do. So, into question number 1. What does kindness mean to you?
I think for me, kindness means space. So that's nice and vague. But I think the key thing is really about allowing someone the space to be who they are, whether that means taking time to process stuff that takes maybe longer than the big air quotes here, normal time to process something. Also giving space for someone to figure something out themselves, giving them space to feel and just basically be who they are. I've certainly felt that I have been able to learn a lot about myself from other people's kindness, whether it was intentional or not, to give me some space to actually, figure stuff out on my own. So I think that's a really kind thing to do. Certainly not easy, but is definitely kind.
I reckon so. And I think also in whether it's self-employed or team environments, it's so important to know the people you're working with, to know that we do process things differently. And I think it is a kind thing to do, to take the time to understand how somebody else processes information.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a thing that isn't or doesn't often come up on someone's values list, but it certainly should. When we're talking about respect for one another, it should also include, and I think explicitly include, kindness as well.
Yeah, I think so. Being explicit with kindness, I'm very into.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to take that, and you should.
What a funny noise. It sounded like a seal then. I'm into that. Question number 2. What are you most thankful for?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just the fact that learning exists as a concept, as an experience that we get to do. There's so many big transformations, transitions. Just this idea of transforming through learning is something that's really interesting to me, but also something that I've done so much. And, certainly in the time that we met, 4 or 5 years, whatever it was, I don't think I would have recognized myself from then. Now, something that says if those two people met, then they would not be sure of who the other person was, is the sentiment I'm trying to get across. But it's all from learning, right? And so it's all just come from this fact that you can go out in the world and see things, and there's so much privilege that I have that I would always want to acknowledge, that's allowed me to kind of create those spaces for me to learn, which I'm highly aware that not everyone has that ability to kind of learn, because learning often comes from making mistakes, and making mistakes isn't something that everyone necessarily has the ability, space, privilege, or otherwise to do, right? So but I'm just incredibly thankful that I've been able to experience and learn so much. I've grown so much on the other side of it, and there's no doubt in my mind that I'll continue to grow, and 5 years time me is going to be like, who was this person? And I'm excited for that moment to see where this person gets to in a few years time. So yeah.
Me too. Evolution of Reema. Evolution of Reema and Georgina.
Yeah, maybe we need
because it
like
has a
Pokemon
rhyme.
to see what the next the version of us need. Who knows? Who knows where we'll get to? Somewhere
Yeah,
exciting, I imagine.
I think so too. There's a real left field thing that's completely irrelevant to this, but there are people that take the same photo of themselves every day for like 50 years or whatever.
Mhm.
That is really cool when you see the complete transformation of like, do you remember those flip books?
Yeah.
I think
That's
they're
cool.
really cool.
I think I don't have the dedication or memory to remember to do something like that, but I'm really impressed with all the people that can.
Me too. Me too. I was like, oh, I'd really like to do that, and then I'm like, no, you won't, don't, Gina. You've got
Yeah,
other things that bring you joy in life.
yeah,
Which
exactly.
brings me to my third question of what brings you the most joy in life?
It's very linked to the other answers I've given, really. But I think is for me is having the space to grow and think and learn and all these sorts of things. The things that I've done that I don't feel like a life highlights for me. Probably more like lowlights, but certainly have been places where I've learnt the most. And when we started coaching last year as well, that was a big change and transition period. I remember speaking to you from halfway across the world, being like, right, let's do this because like I can't deal with this stuff anymore. So let's move forward because I can't and I don't want to continue in this space and mindset and all the other sorts of things. So I'm just very I can't even remember what the question is. Sorry. Say the question.
What was the question? What brings you the most joy in life?
Yeah, so because I was thinking about what am I thankful for and what do I feel joy around, and I think those two things are obviously very linked in my mind because um, being able to do the things that I am thankful for brings me a lot of joy. Again, comes with a lot of privilege, but I'm super excited and glad to be able to feel that. Yeah.
I love that. I think there could be a whole different podcast series or conversation around how creating safe spaces to fail. I think that could be another really interesting conversation to delve into. Probably not right now, but I think it
No.
could be a really interesting chat. Actually, that does lead me on to my next question. It's like I know what these questions are. That's wild. I forgot until I looked at the other side of my screen to remind me of the next question that I use the same words. So go earlier, Gina, that wrote these questions down. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do?
Yeah, and as I was answering these questions, I was just like, "Oh wow, way to make a big statement." I've written the words down, "change the world," which is like pretty big, But I think the thing is I stop myself from doing something that could have a real big impact because I'm nervous that I'll do something wrong. And so I think it's interesting being a person who has started a business to think about all the different little micro steps that got me here. And some of that stuff is felt like really big moments in life, and other ones are actually really tiny small ones that have compounded and ended up with me being in this part of life where own a business and I talk on the internet and about things, and talk in real life sometimes too. Not that the internet's not real life, but anyway, is I think the thing is that if I knew that I couldn't fail, then I would probably do things faster, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, who knows. But I think the opportunity to fail is a good one because I love learning so much. It gives me the space to grow and all this different sort of stuff. So yeah, like I'll still change a little part of the world in some way related to data and people and inclusivity. But I think maybe I would have or could do that faster. Who knows? But I think I need to just be thankful that like I'm here at the moment learning along the way because I can fail and failure is a good thing. Yeah.
And I think the changes that you're making and enabling to happen take time. Like change, I think we live in this world where we have this feeling that we always need to make massive progress immediately. And actually, like you're saying, looking back on what's got you to this point, a lot of the steps were actually quite small, and it's the
Mm.
compounding effect of doing those things that you go, huh, look at that.
Yeah. Also, no wonder I'm, like, I'm so exhausted because I have actually done all these things, and like, those sorts of moments of reflection are really important. And I do think that's really important to remember as well. Is when you see someone who has, like, quote unquote made it and like is big and famous, if that's what someone is striving for. I think, being famous is not something that I strive towards, but having an influence to make some change and impact is certainly what I strive towards. But it's this thing that it feels like, oh well, this person's just come out and done this thing, and it happened in 5 minutes, but it didn't. Like, it's literally been years of their life. And so I guess I'm in that moment of like, this is years of my life, and in a few moments time, in whatever length that moment is, I'll be like, oh wow, actually no, I have done a lot. And I think this conversation, actually, haven't thought about our first coaching session for a while, but actually I've checked, like, things have changed a lot since then. That was probably, it was just over a year ago, and there has been a lot of change. So yeah, it's just one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah, and talking about first times, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
It's a good question. I mean, I guess founding a business was like pretty first timey.
Yeah,
There is a lot of first time stuff that happens in this space of owning and running a business, and I think I lose track of the amount of first that I've done. And that's exciting, but also I think there is certainly something about just having a bit of a moment to actually acknowledge the things that I do. I keep a journal that is a digital one that I update most days, with just like, how have things been and like what have I achieved, because there's certainly moments where I'm just like, I'm not doing anything, I'm not doing things fast enough, but it's really useful to be able to look back over this and see that, actually, yeah, I have done a bunch of stuff. So I don't know is the question to your answer as to when was the last time I did something for the first time, because I think it was probably this morning, punched in amongst 10 other different first time things that I did. So, but the big one is starting a company from scratch on my own. And certainly
oh,
it's not as a single person anymore, which is great. It's so nice to have people to support me with doing it. But certainly that first decision of quitting my full-time job to start this thing, that was a solo decision. So that was, a pretty big one.
smashing it.
Yeah,
Incredible.
thanks.
Penultimate question. How have you treated yourself with kindness lately?
Oof, that's a really good question. I think a good example today was I was going to go and work in a co-working space, and I decided, I've just been traveling and this is my first full day in my house for a little while, so I'm just going to stay here and enjoy this space. And instead, just decided to take a little walk. And I didn't want to let the germs that are probably trying to come out in the cold in my body right now win. So I thought, I'll just take it easy and see how we go. And yeah, I think that's a kind thing to do, is just be patient with myself and know that, like, yeah, I don't need to go and run a million miles an hour all the time. That's actually not going to work very well for anyone.
I love that.
Yeah,
That feels like a very kind thing for you to do for yourself today.
I'm glad you
And the
agree.
final question is, if you could write a kind note to a stranger, what would you write?
I wrote this and I have stolen a little bit, but not too much. I'm sure lots of people have said this sort of thing, but I wrote it on an actual post-it. I put,
Um,
be safely scared. You've got this. Because there's this whole idea of feel the fear and do it anyway. And I think fear is an interesting thing, and being scared is an interesting thing. Like, we need to listen to ourselves when we feel this. But there's certainly been so many times where I've been scared to send an email, or like scared to uh, submit myself to be it doing a talk or something like that. And there's like the psychological safety. There's also, which I know you're a big, talker on this topic, which is great. We need more people to talk about psychological safety. There's a certain amount of safety, around like physical safety and all these different things that we really need to be aware of. Safety, but some level of being scared is okay, and like, actually some level of being scared is required. So what I would say is, be safely scared, you do actually definitely have this and it's going to be fine. So I think that's hopefully a kindness to someone to encourage them to do the thing that they're nervous about, but do it anyway.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for joining me today, Reema. And yeah, I really appreciate it. It's been such an interesting and lovely conversation, and absolutely love your post-it note. I was thinking about taking like screenshots of all of these post-it notes of people and making like a wall of them, which came to my head when I saw yours. That's going to be super cool. And next week we're going to be talking to another awesome human. So please join us next week for Kindness Files Part 5. I've been your host, Georgina. Goodbye.
See ya.
Thanks so much.